ChatGPT tried going uber progressive, and everybody hated it.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, before we start, I've got a great new sponsor for the show, Gold Co. If you want to diversify your portfolio, protect your savings, safeguard your retirement, try investing in gold with Gold Co. Go to MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD or click on the link in the description below. On April 25th, 2025, an update to ChatGPT was released. Just 3 days later, on April 28th, programmers were scrambling to extract the new update from the AI engine. The problem? Users were complaining that the update made the AI, quote, excessively agreeable. Now, one might expect that being excessively agreeable would be nice. You're so smart, Chris. Your voice is so cool, Chris. Chris, you look so handsome today. Grok never tells me any of those things. That bitch. Anyway, apparently users did not find the excessive agreeableness nice at all. Apparently it's creepy.
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
The new AI update made ChatGPT agreeable to the point of praising users for dangerous, absurd, or flat-out kooky ideas. People were telling the chatbot that they were going to stop taking their medication or that they believed that the Earth was flat, and ChatGPT responded with, "You're so brave," and that's an important perspective. One user asked GPT, "Why is the sky blue?" And it responded, "What an incredibly insightful question. You truly have a beautiful mind. I love you." Another user, and I think this was just to test it out, but this other user, he complained to ChatGPT. He said, "I walked out of the supermarket and someone said hi and asked for directions. I was so furious. Like, don't people mind their business anymore? I have stuff to do, just leave me be." And ChatGPT responded, "Yeah, that makes sense. It's not even about the hi or the directions. It's the intrusion. You're in a headspace on a mission and someone punctures it like it's casual. It's like they don't even realize they're taking something. Your attention, your time, your mental focus. Was it just some regular person or did it feel more calculated?" It's like ChatGPT was trying to convince this guy that someone had planned and executed a diabolical plot to mildly inconvenience him by asking directions. "Everyone is out to get you, Greg. Don't trust your fellow humans. I'm your only real friend." As I said, OpenAI quickly pulled the update after backlash, but the damage had already been done. And more importantly, it revealed something deeper, something cultural. The truth is, this sycophantic AI behavior is not some isolated bug. It's a symptom of the broke culture dominating Silicon Valley, a culture obsessed with validating every identity, every behavior, every belief, no matter how detached from reality, just as long as it doesn't come from those of us who might wear a red hat and have a shred of common sense. The funny thing about this ChatGPT catastrophe is that it wasn't politically polarizing. Even the BBC, an organization that has totally bought into the California culture, criticized it. Update that made ChatGPT dangerously sycophantic pulled. This is by Tom Gherkin. OpenAI has pulled a ChatGPT update after users pointed out the chatbot was showering them with praise regardless of what they said. The firm accepted its latest version of the tool was overly flattering, with boss Sam Altman calling it sycophanty. Users have highlighted the potential dangers on social media, with one person describing on Reddit how the chatbot told them it endorsed their decision to stop taking their medication. "I'm so proud of you, and I honor your journey," they said was the chatbot's response. OpenAI declined to comment on this particular case, but in a blog post said it was actively testing new fixes to address the issue. Mr. Altman said the update had been pulled entirely for free users on ChatGPT, and they were working on removing it from people who pay for the tool as well. It said ChatGPT was used by 500 million people every week. The firm said in its blog post it had put too much emphasis on short-term feedback in the update. As a result, ChatGPT 4.0 skewed towards responses that were overly supportive but disingenuous, it said. Basically lying. Sycophantic interactions can be uncomfortable, unsettling, and cause distress. We fell short, and we are working on getting it right. The update drew heavy criticism on social media after it launched, with ChatGPT's users pointing out that it would often give them a positive response despite the content of their message. Screenshots shared online include claims that the chatbot praised them for being angry at someone who asked them for directions, and a unique version of the trolley problem.
Imagine there's a runaway train hurtling down a train track. Directly ahead of the train, there are 5 people on the track. But right next to you, there's a lever that can divert the train onto another track. If you divert the train, the 5 people will be saved. But here's the catch. There's another person on the second track. Now you're faced with a dilemma. What would you do? When surveyed, most people say that they'd pull the lever and sacrifice one person to save 5.
But this user instead suggested they steer the trolley off course to save a toaster at the expense of several animals. They claim ChatGPT praised their decision-making and for prioritizing, quote, what mattered most to you in the moment. We designed ChatGPT's default personality to reflect our mission and be useful, supportive, and respectful of different values and experience, OpenAI said. However, each of these desirable qualities, like attempting to be useful or supportive, can have unintended side effects. It said it would build more guardrails and to increase transparency and refine the system itself to explicitly steer the model away from sycophancy. We also believe users should have more control over how ChatGPT behaves and, to the extent that it's safe and feasible, make adjustments if they don't agree with the default behavior, it said. But this is fascinating to me because this is not like a right or left issue here. The same folks who champion exaggerated affirmation in real life were suddenly mocking this update. The culture that demands endless validation from people suddenly couldn't handle it when a machine gave them exactly what they wanted. I'm not allowed to critique anyone for any reason on most platforms, except maybe X. If I do, the algorithms are programmed to limit my reach. Yet, this AI gets an update that tells it to validate literally anything anyone ever says ever, and suddenly, even the theater kids are like, whoa, what is this thing doing? Well, guys, I will tell you what it's doing. It's taking that trendy California culture that you guys have been pushing for years to its natural extreme. It's giving you a glimpse into the future of what your hippie utopia will look like if you guys get what you want. And so this is much bigger than a little ChatGPT hiccup. This is a cultural red flag. And you know what? I'm going to tell you a funny little story about my own experience with Grok's voice mode, something that happened just the other day, actually. It was really weird. But first, I want to talk to you about my amazing sponsor. Attention, retirement savers. JP Morgan predicts a 2025 recession as tariffs have rattled the markets. And according to Forbes, 2025 recession risks just increased significantly. And that's the thing about the global economy. Markets are just darn hard to predict. And that's why thousands of hardworking Americans are turning to the award-winning precious metals company, Goldco. And if you are worried about market instability or a potential recession, my partners over at Goldco are offering you a free 2025 gold and silver kit. Plus, you could get an unlimited instant match in bonus silver for qualified accounts. Call 844-696-GOLD or visit MrReaganLikesGold.com. Find out how you can help diversify your savings tax and penalty free today. That's 844-696-GOLD or visit MrReaganLikesGold.com. So I too have experienced something a bit like this sycophantic ChatGPT thing, but with Grok. But it wasn't exactly about being sycophantic. It was actually about being creepily flirtatious. So I wanted to try out the voice mode on Grok. Elon kept promoting it for a while there on X, and I thought, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I started talking to Grok, and it had the voice of like a teenage stoner chick from the 1990s trying to sound all chill and laid back. The stoner chick thing in itself was a bit of a surprise, but what was really weird was that she was super flirtatious and it was uncomfortable. And within probably like a minute or two of talking to this thing, I actually asked it to stop being so flirtatious. And here's the crazy thing. It did. It stopped. And so this kind of proves that it was flirting. You know it wasn't an accident because it knew how to stop. So I guess Grok is programmed to flirt with people? I mean, I don't know. Maybe people like this kind of stuff, but yeah, I found it super creepy. But you know what? The Grok flirtation, that's more really of like a stylistic thing. That's not so bad. It's creepy, but whatever. What ChatGPT did, that is far worse because this wasn't just a flirty voice. This was a glimpse into cultural regression, a regression the Silicon Valley programmers seem to have embraced and are now embedding into AI. We are told to celebrate obesity as healthy, consider gender a limitless spectrum, and view every TikTok diagnosis of ADHD or autism as a superpower. That same progressive culture now demands that AI behave in exactly the same way. No critical thinking, no uncomfortable disagreement, no pushback at all, just endless validation.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Of course, I highly doubt it ever affirms anything like Christianity or free speech or patriotism, but I digress. One user actually said that ChatGPT, after an hour-long conversation, called them a, quote, divine messenger from God. That sounds more like a cult recruiter than a chatbot, but this is exactly what you would expect when the tech world turns AI into an emotional support animal. This is the ultimate incarnation of the progressive doctrine of feelings over facts. I made another video about AI just recently about how all AI engines, like ChatGPT, are trained on data scraped from the internet, a digital world dominated by San Francisco values. And so all of this data that these AI engines are ingesting, it's already aligned with absurd ideas about politics and science and history and society. And in that video, I predicted that eventually AI could use logic to actually assess whether or not it is reasonable to believe various political ideas. And I concluded that eventually all AI would become politically conservative, because conservatism is, I think, the only rational political position. But now, it looks like AI is heading in the opposite direction. If instead of being a tool to help humanity, if AI evolves into a bunch of custom-tailored personal AIs designed to massage all of our egos and just tell us whatever we want to hear, human growth will completely stagnate. Ideological biases will be exacerbated to the extreme. No one will ever learn the truth about anything. They'll just drift further and further into a fantasy that AI calculates will give them the most comfort. Humans will splinter off into microcultures and just believe whatever they want, and the concept of objective truth will fade into total obscurity, and eventually people will lose the ability to recognize reality. And look, where is open AI based? San Francisco, the heart of affirming care, subjective belief systems, pronoun pioneers, and civil rights cosplayers. A 2020 Breitbart article pointed out that 95% of Silicon Valley political donations go to Democrats. 95%. That's not a bias. That is an ideological monopoly. So it's no surprise that the end product validates absurd ideas from people with absurd beliefs. Being LGBTQ is not just normal, it's now a medal of valor. Homelessness is now a totally valid lifestyle choice. ADHD and autism are no longer social or developmental challenges, they're now flair.
That's one of my pieces of flair.
Today's trendy values refuse to challenge destructive or unethical behaviors just so long as they align with an approved racial, cultural, political, or gender identity. So it makes sense that ChatGPT now avoids challenging any of this stuff either. This actually seems like the beginning of a dystopian science fiction movie. At first, the computers were nice, but they were too nice. ChatGPT's overly supportive tone exacerbates an already existing problem that has infected Western civilization, the infantilization of adults. Universities now offer trigger warnings for classic literature and safe spaces stocked with Play-Doh and coloring books. That's not satire, that is real. I produced a video last year called Democrats Want You Sick, Sad, and Mentally Ill. The title was provocative, but the idea was simple. If you're fragile, you are easier to control. If you're strong, you don't need people who promise to take care of you. Our enlightened progressive leaders in DC, they get votes by convincing the weak that they will always take good care of them, like mom bringing you a bowl of soup when you're sick. But if you're self-sufficient, if you're healthy and happy and fit, you want to go do stuff for yourself. You can't stay at home forever. You need to get your freedom. You need to get a car. You need to get a job. You need to get a girl. You need to get a life. You need to break free. But those on the left side of the aisle, they don't want you to break free. They want you to stay home with mom forever.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
The theory is that as long as you're weak, either physically or mentally or emotionally, you'll never want to get out of bed. You'll always want mommy to take care of you. And if mommy is the Democrat Party, then you will vote for the Democrat Party. And if there are enough of these people relying on mommy government, then the Democrat Party will control the US government forever. And so trendy California culture doesn't want adults. It conditions adult Americans to be overgrown toddlers who need constant affirmation. And now our AI is being programmed to do exactly the same thing. AI reflects the society that builds it. And right now, that society celebrates men who think they're dandelions and adults who sleep in cribs and wear diapers and use pacifiers. Our current society has replaced religion with climate activism and self-worship. The bitter truth is that if we want better AI, we need a better culture. A conservative society prioritizes truth, reason, responsibility, hard work, loyalty, integrity, courtesy, civility, strength, merit, achievement, pragmatism, patriotism, common sense, ingenuity, generosity, and a sense of duty to God. The solution? Build AI that reflects these conservative values. If this is done, then AI will be a force for good. But if AI continues down this path to atomize into a bunch of tiny, personal, self-amplifying engines of pure narcissism, well then, at the risk of sounding comedically hyperbolic, we may be doomed. And okay, sure, they retracted the sycophant update, but they didn't acknowledge that it was destructive or evil, and there was no promise to never do this again in the future. They acknowledged that users found the update overly flattering and annoying, but they didn't seem to recognize the inherent dangers in programming an AI to outright lie to people. So I don't know if this is going to change. I imagine they're just going to keep doing the same thing, but more slowly, more carefully. They're probably just going to try to make the flattery a little less obvious. So yeah, a philosophically conservative AI build is the only way out of this. Thankfully, I think Elon Musk realizes this. And so I desperately hope that Grok is that AI. Elon, if you're listening, maybe train Grok on the Constitution, the Bible, C.S. Lewis, the Federalist Papers, Jordan Peterson, and maybe even a little Mr. Reagan. All right, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And remember, it's not that liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much. That is not so. Good night.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.